Engineering failures in firearms have claimed lives throughout history, not through malice or misuse, but through fundamental design flaws that turned weapons into unpredictable killers. From accidental discharges to catastrophic malfunctions, these 6 firearms prove that sometimes the most dangerous enemy isn't the one you're aiming at. Number 1. The Japanese Type 94 pistol. The Japanese Type 94 pistol, manufactured between 1935 and 1945, earned its deadly reputation through one of the most dangerous design flaws in firearms history. Japanese engineers created a compact sidearm for officers, but in their pursuit of simplicity, they made a fatal error that would claim numerous lives. The pistol featured an exposed sear bar along the left side of the frame, a critical component that controlled the firing mechanism. This metal bar protruded from the weapon's housing, and when pressed even slightly, it would cause the gun to fire immediately, regardless of whether anyone was touching the trigger. American soldiers in the Pacific Theater during World War II documented multiple incidents where captured Type 94 pistols discharged unexpectedly. The most tragic cases involved soldiers examining surrendered weapons, only to have them fire when grabbed incorrectly or when the exposed sear contacted clothing or equipment. Military reports from Iwo Jima and Okinawa describe American troops being wounded or killed by these accidental discharges. In one documented case from 1945, a Marine Corps sergeant was examining a surrendered Type 94 when the weapon fired, killing a fellow Marine standing nearby. The sergeant hadn't touched the trigger, but his thumb had inadvertently pressed the exposed sear mechanism. The Japanese military was aware of this design flaw, but continued production due to wartime material shortages and the need for rapid manufacturing. Post-war analysis revealed that Nambu Arms Manufacturing had received multiple reports about accidental discharges, yet the fundamental design was never corrected. Number 2. The British Sten gun. Britain's Sten submachine gun, produced throughout World War II, represented the ultimate wartime compromise between cost, speed of production, and reliability. However, this utilitarian approach to firearms design created a weapon that was almost as dangerous to its user as to the enemy. The Sten gun's simple blowback operation and minimal safety mechanisms made it prone to accidental discharge. The most dangerous flaw involved the bolt mechanism, which could fire the weapon if dropped or struck while a round was chambered. British paratroopers during the D-Day invasion reported multiple instances of Sten guns firing upon landing, sometimes injuring or killing the soldiers carrying them. The weapon's crude construction, necessitated by wartime material shortages, meant that safety mechanisms were often unreliable or completely absent on some models. Factory workers at the Royal Ordnance facilities in England rushed production to meet wartime demands, sometimes skipping quality control measures that might have caught these potentially lethal design shortcuts. French resistance fighters, who received thousands of Sten guns through Allied airdrops, documented numerous accidental discharges during covert operations. In one tragic incident near Lyon in 1944, a resistance member's Sten gun fired accidentally during a German patrol encounter, killing 2 fellow fighters and compromising their position. The weapon's magazine design also contributed to its lethality. The side-mounted magazine created an unbalanced weapon that was difficult to control during rapid fire, leading to numerous friendly fire incidents in the close-quarters combat environments of urban warfare across occupied Europe. Number 3. The Winchester Model 1911 SL. Winchester's Model 1911 SL shotgun introduced a dangerous phenomenon known as slam fire, where the weapon would continue firing rounds as long as the trigger was held and the action was cycled. While this might sound like a feature, it became a deadly design flaw that claimed multiple lives throughout the weapon's production run. The shotgun's firing pin mechanism lacked a proper disconnect system, meaning that if the trigger was held while operating the action, the weapon would fire immediately upon chambering a new round. This created situations where hunters and sport shooters found themselves unable to stop the weapon from firing once the sequence began. Hunting lodges across the American Midwest documented numerous accidents during the 19-teens and 20s. In one particularly tragic case from Wisconsin in 1919, a duck hunter's Winchester 1911 SL experienced slam fire, sending multiple rounds across a hunting blind and killing his hunting partner. The hunter had been attempting to clear a jammed shell when the weapon began its uncontrolled firing sequence. The design flaw became so notorious that many sporting goods stores refused to sell the weapon, and several states considered banning its use for hunting. Winchester received hundreds of complaints and faced multiple lawsuits from families whose loved ones had been killed by the slam-fire mechanism. Factory records from the Winchester plant in New Haven, Connecticut show that engineers were aware of the problem by 1913, yet the fundamental firing mechanism was never redesigned. Production continued until 1925, when mounting legal pressure and declining sales finally forced Winchester to discontinue the model. Number 4. The early M16 rifle. The United States military's adoption of the M16 rifle in Vietnam created one of the most controversial firearm failures in American military history. What was supposed to be a revolutionary lightweight combat rifle became a death trap for American soldiers in the jungles of Southeast Asia. The original M16 design suffered from numerous critical flaws that proved lethal in combat conditions. The weapon's direct gas impingement system, combined with the wrong type of gunpowder and inadequate cleaning equipment, created a recipe for catastrophic malfunctions during firefights. Soldiers in Vietnam reported that their M16 rifles would jam during combat, often at the worst possible moments. The weapon's aluminum receivers would crack under stress, and the chambers would become so fouled with residue that spent cartridges couldn't be extracted. American troops were found dead on battlefields, their M16 rifles disassembled beside them as they desperately tried to clear malfunctions while under enemy fire. The most tragic aspect of the M16 failures was that they were entirely preventable. Military testing at Aberdeen Proving Ground had revealed many of these problems before deployment, but bureaucratic pressure and political considerations pushed the weapon into service without proper modifications. Congressional investigations in 1967 revealed that the Defense Department had changed the recommended gunpowder specification without proper testing, directly contributing to the reliability problems. Families of soldiers killed due to M16 malfunctions filed wrongful death lawsuits against both the military and Colt Manufacturing, the weapon's producer. Number 5. The Colt Single Action Army. The legendary Colt Single Action Army revolver, known as the Peacemaker, contained a design flaw that made it dangerous to carry with all 6 chambers loaded. The weapon's firing pin was mounted directly on the hammer, meaning that a sharp blow to the hammer could cause the gun to fire even when the hammer was in the rest position. Cowboys and lawmen in the American West quickly learned to load only 5 chambers, leaving the hammer resting on an empty chamber for safety. However, many users were unaware of this requirement, leading to numerous accidental shootings throughout the late 1800s. The most common accidents occurred when riders fell from horses or when the weapon was dropped. The heavy Colt revolver would often land hammer first, causing an immediate discharge. Newspaper accounts from frontier towns like Dodge City and Tombstone document multiple cases of accidental deaths caused by dropped peacemakers. In one documented case from 1878 in Wyoming Territory, a cattle rancher's Colt accidentally discharged when his horse stumbled, sending a bullet through his leg and severing a major artery. He bled to death before reaching medical help in the nearest town. Despite widespread knowledge of this design flaw, Colt continued manufacturing the Single Action Army without modification for decades. The company's position was that proper training and handling would prevent accidents, but this stance ignored the reality of frontier life, where quick draws and rough handling were commonplace. Number 6. The Remington Model 700. Modern firearms designs seem to have solved most safety issues by the late 20th century, but the Remington Model 700 rifle proved that even contemporary weapons could harbor deadly flaws. This popular hunting rifle contained a trigger mechanism defect that could cause the weapon to fire without the trigger being pulled. The Model 700's trigger assembly, known as the Walker Fire Control System, could malfunction due to contamination, corrosion, or simple wear. When this happened, the rifle could discharge when the safety was disengaged or when the bolt was operated, creating deadly surprises for hunters and target shooters. Courtroom documents from numerous wrongful death lawsuits reveal that Remington engineers identified this problem as early as 1948, decades before public awareness emerged. Internal company memos discussed potential fixes, but management decided that retrofitting existing rifles would be too expensive. The most tragic cases involved young hunters whose Model 700 rifles discharged while being unloaded or prepared for storage. In Montana during 2006, a 12-year-old boy was killed when his father's Remington 700 fired unexpectedly while being removed from their hunting vehicle. The safety was engaged and no one was near the trigger. By 2010, CNBC investigations revealed that Remington had received thousands of complaints about accidental discharges, yet the company continued denying that any design defect existed. Finally, in 2018, after decades of litigation and mounting evidence, Remington agreed to retrofit millions of Model 700 rifles with improved trigger mechanisms. Engineering failures in firearms remind us that mechanical devices, no matter how carefully designed, can harbor unexpected dangers. These 6 weapons claimed lives not through criminal misuse, but through fundamental design flaws that turn trusted tools into unpredictable killers. Modern firearm safety standards exist precisely because of these tragic lessons learned through loss of life. If you want to learn about more dangerous military equipment that backfired on its users, check out the video on screen now about experimental weapons that were too dangerous to deploy.